let's see. Once this thing actually looks like we're connected. Oh man. Oh boy. I wonder if we're having a little bit of technical difficulties here. I don't know if anything's going through. Oh boy. Alright, looks like a bit of technical difficulties, but I think we're on now. Let's see, I don't know, I keep seeing all these little things popping up over here. So, there, I think I'm in the right screen now. So, alright. Let's see. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dennis Misigoy. Libertarian running for the U.S. Senate seat here in Florida. Trying to take a few minutes to, well, not more than a few minutes, but try and get a little bit more live streaming going, a little bit of talk about the stuff that's going on and why this is so important. So, you know, it certainly hasn't been an uneventful time over the last week. I actually managed to make it out for a little while Tuesday afternoon, go wave some signs out in front of a Lockheed Martin facility. I wasn't aware that they had quite a big setup over here just around the corner in Orlando. So I was out there waving some anti-war signs. Nothing but positive reactions to that, which is what I would expect, you know. It's wild to me what I see presented in the media, and certainly what I see from some elected officials and folks, like I said, folks in the media. The idea of wanting to avoid thermonuclear global annihilation seems like it should be a pretty obvious one, something that everybody can get behind. But, you know, some folks don't seem to quite understand really what's at stake. And that's big. That's a big problem. And certainly they seem to be taking steps as much as they can to exacerbate the problems, escalate rather than de-escalate, and try to get us closer to peace than, get us closer to war than to peace, which is a big problem for me. It's one of the big things that kind of motivated me, first really got me engaged into politics, and coming over to becoming a libertarian. One of the first things, as many of you know, and certainly is the case for so many libertarians of my generation, was the Ron Paul campaigns in 2008 and 2012. Obviously running into the Republican primaries, that's how I was exposed to him. He ran as the Libertarian nominee in 1988. But, you know, one of the big things he was running on at that time, in particular in 2008 and 2012, was the wars. And the other big thing besides getting us out of all the wars that we were in and just getting rid of this foreign policy of pursuing this global domination that we have to be able to decide who's in charge of every country and exerting all this influence around the world. The other side of that was the monetary policy, and the monetary policy really kind of goes hand in hand with this. We're feeling the brunt of both of these right now. In particular, I think the most recent number I saw, actually just a few minutes ago, was around 7.9% for inflation, It's quite mind-boggling, and when you stop and think about it, and the implications, and what's the burden that we're putting on regular people, Regular people are the ones, and I really need to say this, it bears repeating, the people at the top, the people in power, the federal government, spend like worse than drunken sailors. I should really say I think drunken sailors still have to face the sort of constraints of reality where they can really only spend so much money. The federal government can spend as much money as it wants because when they don't have enough, they just borrow it, and whatever they can't borrow from somebody else, they will get the Federal Reserve to just print it. And that's how we got where we are today. There's a nice clip, I think it's from 60 Minutes, but it's with them asking, I think it's Jerome Powell, the former Fed chairman, or acting as well, but where they basically just ask him, you flooded the system with money. And he's like, yeah, it's what we did, and he explains the different ways that they do that, but it's what we kind of talk about. You can't increase the money supply. You can't nearly double the amount of dollars in circulation or drastically increase it. Let's say it's 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%. You can't do that without it having an impact on the purchasing power of the dollar. That's how the regular people get robbed. That's what we call the inflation tax. And it's probably the worst of all because you don't see it, you can't measure it. It just happens to be the fact that your money loses value without you even knowing it. So you're being taxed, you're being stolen from, you're having the value of the dollars that you worked for, that you earned, being taken from you without you knowing. Now, there's something to be said that in other monetary systems, there's a certain measure of volatility. And look, you can't control the relative price of everything. There's always going to be some modicum of that. But what we've done and the kind of system that we've instituted, and I think most of the countries have instituted to this point, really is a more deliberate debasing of the currency. And that's not more desirable. Over the long term, and particularly as we're feeling the brunt of it now, it is just out of control. It is, it's destructive. It's destructive to people's savings, but not even just to the savings. That's over the long term. Right now, it's dropping down on us like a ton of bricks. People's bills are going crazy, certainly more so in some places than others, but cost of living, cost of housing for folks who are renters, and you've got these, and of course this is the perfect time for them, as just passed in the House, a set of sanctions, in particular banning Russian oil. Oh goodness, having some connectivity here. Looks like we're experiencing some technical difficulties. Dropped frames. That's quite a lot of dropped frames, man. Oh, look at that. So, I think we're back. However, I'm a little concerned with the connectivity. If this thing drops out again, I might just have to cut this short. maybe go for something pre-recorded instead. Criticisms of DeSantis. Let's see. You know, he's done better than I expected. I got to be honest with you on this. And this is in particular because when he campaigned in 2018, he was basically campaigning on the message of being baby Trump. Okay? I do take issue with him sending Florida personnel, law enforcement, off to go man the border and stuff like that. Obviously, as a libertarian, I take a little bit different view on immigration than the whole build the wall crew. I think it's a misallocation of resources. It's certainly not, doesn't make any sense for a Florida law enforcement to be over there doing that. Oh, goodness gracious. All right. I don't know where I'm getting cut off over here, but I think I still might end up do this a half length for this live stream because of the connectivity. But with DeSantis, some of that misallocation of resources, maintaining the status quo with some of these gun laws. He came out recently and said that if they brought constitutional carry to his desk, he would sign it. However, he kind of did that towards the end of the legislative session. You know, us libertarians are a little bit skeptical of the intent and willingness to do it. Oh, man. Hey, look at that. We're connected again, sort of. I'm going to cut this off at least by 15, if not sooner, just because of connectivity issues, guys. This is probably coming out as a mess, but I do want to talk at least a little bit about the, as I said, what the House just passed, and probably we're going to see something very similar from the Senate. I saw McConnell talking about it a day or two earlier, but, you know, 13 or 14 billion to go to Ukraine. A Ukrainian government, of course, that's who's going to get the money and then do with it, you know, whatever there it is they're going to do with it. There is a sort of problem with the narrative, and I heard Thomas Massey point it out, it really bears repeating the fact that on the one hand, we're told through the media that, you know, the Russians are getting hammered, things are going really terrible for them, and the Ukrainians are really putting up this great fight and stopping them all over the place. But at the same time, we're being told that we need to give more aid to Ukraine. It's sort of a little incongruous. If they're already winning, then they don't desperately need us to do this if they're already winning. And certainly some of the other stuff that we're doing as well as a part of that with the sanctions and whatnot, which are just going to increase prices and do more harm to the American people here. It'll probably do harm to the regular people in Russia. It's not going to do anything to Putin. It's not going to do anything to the guys who actually make the decisions, the guys who we're actually trying to get after. But we're willing to sacrifice, again, the American people who are already suffering through record inflation and this still economic disruption of the last couple of years. American people are going through all this. And like I say, even the Russian people, who I'm sure have faced quite a bit of that, they've had a contracting economy already from sanctions that have already been there. And everybody's going to get raked over the coals. It's all the regular people are going to suffer. So that the political class here can try to stick it to Putin and whoever else in Russia that they think that they want to hold responsible. But they're not really holding responsible. They're just making other people suffer because of it. And I can't stress it enough. Another funny thing, well, I don't want to say funny. I'd want to share, let me see if I can pull this stuff up while this is all working. Let me see. I gotta click a few things over here, guys. Excuse me. So, see if you guys are able to hear this when I put this on the screen, because this is pretty wild, in my opinion, anyway. Let me see if I can pull it up. You guys can hear this.
I support zone.
Let me know if you guys can hear
And do you
this
support a
already.
no-fly zone?
But these are the people
And do you
making
support a
decisions here.
no-fly zone in Ukraine?
I support everything that has to do with punishing Vladimir Putin and helping the Ukrainians.
Wouldn't that mean direct conventional warfare with Russia?
I don't know what it will mean, but you know freedom is not free.
So you don't know what a no-fly zone will mean. If you have to shoot down Russian planes, I mean.
Of course.
So conventional war with Russia.
Listen, thank you.
I mean, I don't know what to really say when I hear somebody say something. And that's a congresswoman. That's Maria Elvira Salazar. Gosh, I can't remember the district. Wasn't my old district. It was sort of, had been, and then things got redistricted. But when I was back down in Miami, she recently replaced in this session of Congress, came in to replace not Ross Leitonen, Donna Shalala, who had taken Ross Leitonen's seat. And but it's just, this is a congressperson saying, oh yeah, whatever, we're going to do whatever, and including instituting a no-fly zone, which, to his credit, as terrible as he is, you know, at a bare minimum, Marco Rubio at least acknowledged and has said, yeah, putting in a no-fly zone is starting World War III, because that's us going in and shooting down Russian airplanes. Okay, that's basically starting World War III, and I couldn't think of a worse idea, and for what, you know. So there's an incredible lack of consideration for the consequences of the policies that these folks are advocating. In addition to that, I'm going to share one other clip, if this thing is still cooperating with me, which is, again, our
I only have a minute left.
Esteemed incumbent senator questioning Victoria Nuland, Under Secretary of State, I believe is the title. Fun fact, this is the lady who's on that recording back in 2014 in terms of U.S. meddling in the Ukrainian, whether you want to call it a coup, revolution, whatever, when Yanukovych was removed from office before completing his term. So, but anyway, this is an interesting question, and the answer is also pretty intriguing as well. So,
Well, I only have a minute left. Let me ask you, does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
I'm sure you're aware that the Russian propaganda groups are already putting out there all kinds of information about how they've uncovered a plot by the Ukrainians to release biological weapons in the country, and with NATO's coordination. If there's a biological or chemical weapon incident or attack inside of Ukraine, is there any doubt in your mind that 100% it would be the Russians that would be behind it?
There is no doubt in my mind, Senator, and it is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
So I thought that was a really intriguing exchange. You know, I can certainly theorize, but it's only theorizing about what exactly went on here. I don't think Marco Rubio was expecting, when he asked her if they had biological weapons, was expecting an answer other than a no. Now, on the other hand, I and this is just a guess, but that Undersecretary Nuland was, I think, maybe trying to hedge how she answered that question, because I think it'd be a decent enough chance that whatever she's referring to might get out, and at a bare minimum, to do a little bit of self-preservation and avoid a possibility of actually getting charged for perjury. Maybe she doesn't regard herself as high enough on the ladder that she thinks she can get away with it, the way obviously some folks in the power structure do. But there's always usually a fall guy and somebody who takes the blame when something goes wrong. And certainly it wouldn't be the first time that somebody in one of these positions did have to face some consequences for lying under oath. So I think she's trying to hedge, but it is interesting that then immediately they try to pivot and make it this thing where, well, definitely if anything happens, it's definitely going to be Russia. But when you ask if there's biological weapons, my response isn't no. My response is, well, we've got labs over there with some stuff, and we're concerned if the Russians are going to take over that. It's a very interesting exchange. So stay tuned, man. Stay tuned with everything that's going on, and be wary of the propaganda. Remember, these are the same folks who told you everything about Saddam Hussein having WMDs or pursuing them. All of these other wonderful things that have led us, excuse me, I'm being sarcastic, I hope that's obvious, led us into these wars, gotten us into conflicts and escalated those conflicts. So be wary of it, and be mindful of it, and remember who's paying the price here, because it's not any of those folks who are talking there who are making the decisions. In terms of the cost, it's us, and really the worst cost being borne is by the Ukrainian people, sending more arms and trying to extend this conflict needlessly, because this isn't a conflict about freedom, no matter what they want to tell you. That's not what's being contested here. So keep it in mind as you try to understand what's going on here, and don't allow them to push your buttons and to get you to support this stuff. You know who these people are and what they've been trying to do, and again, now they're trying to make everyone else pay the cost. The people caught in the crossfire are the worst off, but the American people are getting the short end of the stick here as well, because we're being asked to pay for essentially the virtue signal to say we're against Putin and so forth and so on, and at a time when we're already suffering from so much other bad policy. So it's why we need to change. It's why we need to do something different. One other thing I'll pop up on here, and please, if you're on here or on any other social media feeds, I planning to do a call for volunteers. So if you guys have some time this afternoon, 5:15, trying to see where I have it. I'm not where I thought I was. Give me one quick second to throw this on the screen, just in case. And I should have just done this a different way, but whatever. This works. I don't have my setup as best I want it, but if you're free this afternoon, 5:15, this is posted on all of my social media, so you guys that are here on Facebook should be able to get it there. If you're looking from anywhere else, you can find it under YouTube at Dennis Misigoy, which would probably be the only way you get to the YouTube feed. But a Zoom call, if you've got some time and you'd like to, like I said, volunteer and help out with the efforts, it'd be great. Be a quick call. But that's all I got for today, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Maybe I'll do some other stuff, but thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully connection is a little more reliable next time, all right? Take care.